Hello everybody and welcome to the channel Bob Sales this time's next year. So what's been happening in the VV world this week? We have had the SDCC drop schedule been taking place and it's definitely not gone down without hiccups this week. So starting off, Stanley was a great drop. I knew it was going to be a great drop. I didn't see the prices going that high straight away, but I did see them being very valuable in the future. There was a lot of additions, but the price did outweigh that. I did say that in the video, if you did watch that video. It was a great video, by the way. You should have watched that video. So the drop itself, let's talk about the drop itself. So it's been a weird week with EV drops this week, right? The waitlist has not been going to plan. Really hasn't been going to plan this week, I must say. So with Stanley, I went for two on two different Bob Sales, Bob's wife. I did go for two. I actually got two on the drop. Then it come to the rebounds. And yeah, that was mayhem. So the rebound button come. We all hit the rebound button. I got a green truck myself. Definitely got a green truck. A couple of times I got on the web app, because I was using a phone and the web app, you see. So on the web app, I had a different experience. On the web app, I'd hit the buy now button. It would say reserving, order reserving, whatever, you know, the normal. And then right at the end, it would say failed, crashed, failed, didn't purchase. My phone was doing a completely different thing. It was letting me hit the buy now button. It actually come up with a green truck several times, but no mint numbers, which I thought was odd. And then I never got any of them deliveries. So that didn't just happen to me. That happened to loads of people yesterday. It even happened on the initial drop itself, I think. So loads of people went to purchase the drop. Some people did make the purchase reservation, got the order reservation. Some people failed like mine. Other people's then just stayed reloading on that page. Just didn't do anything. So yeah, that was not a great drop experience. I don't think the San Diego Comic-Con had started by that point. But I did say that if this is the experience that's going to happen at the events, we're going to get some fun videos, put it that way. So yeah, so because I did actually make a kind of like a video of this yesterday, but then I got interrupted, so the video never got made pretty much. But yeah, so that happened yesterday. And then what else should we talk about? The poster drop. So the poster drop come. We had kind of the same experience with the poster drop. Although this time it come to buying the poster drop, the timer come out, during the wait list, everything looked fine. Come to buy the poster and there's no buy now button whatsoever. None. No completely buy now button's gone. Not even a little line, not even a little fade, nothing, no buy now button. So that was useless. And again, that didn't happen again. Some people actually got negative timers at one point. So some people were showing that the drop's going to be in -3 minutes. So yeah, and I got my timer back at one point as well. So I did actually get my timer back. And then 2 minutes later, the whole drop's just gone from the page, nothing. Did actually take VV a bit longer than I expected, but they did get to it and they said it was a critical issue. Now, I'm not being funny, you use the words critical issue. That sounds really savage. That sounds critical, should we say. So yeah, not great on VV's part there. And I can imagine if you're trying to onboard new users, which is obviously the point of these events, you're not going to have some great experiences right now. So yeah, so we need to get this waitlist sorted. There's a lot of people that should have got the drop, purchased the drop and didn't get the drop. I can imagine they're really salty right now. And again, it's like the Adam Warlock drop. So the Adam Warlock, what happened to that? 1 minute the license was... 1 minute it was linked to the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 set, I believe. And it was part of that set. Next minute, it's gone from that page. It's gone from everywhere. You can't find it anywhere. So why was that changed? It's really odd to me that that was changed. It did pop back up in the store and it popped up on its own tab. Now, the thing I did notice when I was looking at the drops is the upcoming drops. It never appeared there. It just appeared straight in the set. So I believe this was only done for the drop mechanism reasons. I believe that this was actually just put on there so you could go for that drop as a single item and it not look like it was going to be a blind box for all 5 collectibles. So I do believe that was why they done that, because if you're going for a drop, it should be the drop on the page, right? It shouldn't be in a pre-existing set. Are you going to have a drop button in that pre-existing set? I don't think so. I don't think that should have ever went over to it like it did. I think that was... Initially, it should have been a drop on its own. Now, I'm not sure collectibles or set-wise right now, whether that made a difference. Because it does show the drop on its own, but it does still say it's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So is that still a collectible of that set? or is that now it's set on its own? I couldn't tell you because I don't own either. I did actually wake up 1 minute late for the drop. 1 minute late for the waitlist, should we say. And then when it got to the rebound, I did actually see the rebound pop up. And I knew what was going to happen after the last couple of days' rebounds. So I took my time. I actually went back, looked at the market, see the price was 55 gems. Thought, shit, I better click that button. Went back to click the button, and obviously it was gone. So that was a bad move on Bob's part right there. But again, that drop did drop within about half an hour to 35 gems. I'm not sure what it's at now, but it did go to 35 gems. So it did drop straight away almost. And it was a terrible drop. It looks terrible, I must admit. So far, we've had 3 drops. None of them have worked this week. And there's a lot of unsatisfied customers. I mean, with me, the Stanley one, for instance, I was so annoyed I didn't get the other 2. But yet I already brought 2 on the initial drop. So I was already kind of happy with mine. I didn't feel too hard done by because obviously I did get the drop. I couldn't moan. But then a lot of other people didn't get the initial drop, then they didn't get the rebound, and yet there's green trucks all over the show. That is annoying. That is really annoying. So we do actually have the San Diego poster, 60th anniversary Avengers poster coming up. As I said, I did actually say in yesterday's video that never got released, that I did actually make a mistake on that drop. I didn't see the candles flickering, I must admit. So the pictures what veve put out, even the video at the time, I didn't notice the candles flickering. So that does raise the price a little bit. As I said, it's half the editions as the last San Diego poster. It's half the price as the last San Diego poster. And that one's currently sitting at 25 gems in the market last time I checked. So I think because of the candles flickering, that does make a bit of a difference. So I think it may profit this time. So I am going to go for that drop. I am going to instantly flip that drop because it's definitely not for me, put it that way. But there is a possibility I'm going to lose 5 gems on that drop. But again, I think it's going to be worth it. The way this week's drops have been going, the prices have done well on every single drop so far. Unexpectedly as well, I must admit. So I'm expecting that vibe to carry on through the week. Even Spider-Ham might actually sell out and might actually profit, which I'd never thought I'd say because that is the most bottom of the barrel character you could possibly find. And yes, they do have a cartoon series. If you did watch my videos, you see that in there. But yeah, Spider-Ham's not great. Really not great. Did have the part in the movie as well. I think that was Into the Spider-Verse. So yeah, Spider-Ham's not great. That is literally bottom of the barrel character. But the way the drops are going, it might just be worth getting it. So who knows? So one of the other things I did want to talk about is hopefully that goes well. So hopefully all the drops go well. Hopefully you land the drops, I should say, before we get on to the next point. But yeah, one of the other things I did want to talk about is Disney going too woke. So in the news this week, in the UK at least, there's been a lot of stories about Disney going woke. So we should talk about this considering veve's a lot of Disney items right now. And I kind of have to admit, I kind of noticed the same sort of pattern going myself. So Disney have actually lost 900 million in the last few films. Starting with, I think, Thor Love and Thunder, which of course we've had 3-4 films up to that point. And then the last one was basically based on his girlfriend, as her being the superhero. That did not go down well. Even the drops in veve didn't go down well for that one. The advertisements didn't go well for that. And that was actually a big flop. So we've started to notice that the MCU is getting a lot watered down a lot. There's a female counterpart for nearly every superhero there is now. We've got the She-Hulk. I mean, when it's getting to the point when you're watching the She-Hulk twerking in her office, I think you're getting to the point where you're trying to be comical with stuff, but it's not actually comical and it just looks sad to that point. So yeah, that's what started to happen anyway. So it started with Thor Love and Thunder, and then obviously recently you had the Little Mermaid film been redone, live action. They did actually use a Caribbean actor. There was actually a lot of hate about that because they changed the role so significantly. Now, some of these stories, some of these books may be a bit outdated to these days. But again, something that's made 70 years ago, something like that, should just be celebrated for what it is and should be told for what it is. It shouldn't keep changing stuff all the time. In my opinion, anyway. So yeah, Little Mermaid, they changed it to the Caribbean character. Of course, we all know Ariel as whiter than white. And obviously the Disney theme parks, obviously Ariel's still going around there, the normal classic Ariel. A lot of people grow up to that film. A lot of young girls grew up to that film, even boys. So I must admit, you shouldn't change things like that. It's like it's like having James Bond, right? I'd never want James Bond to be a black man because I've been so used to James Bond over the years being a white man. It's just that simple. But on the same tone, Blade, right? Blade is one of my favourite superheroes in the world. Some of the best films they ever made, I must admit. Them three Blade films, I mean, the last couple got a bit... I mean, 1 and 2 were definitely super quality films. No one could decide whether 2 was better than 1. They were that great films. So I love Blade. But again, if they was to change Blade to, say, Hugh Jackman or something, a white guy, I would not go for that. It's just a change too much. Same as Doctor Who when they changed Doctor Who from a man to a woman. The change was just too much for a lot of people. They did lose no end of viewers, and they have actually gone back to a man. So yes, but with Doctor Who, it was a bit different because they could regenerate. They did change face every time. They did change characteristics. It did kind of work with a storyline, but again, something that's been going for 60 years, you just don't change things like that. It's just turned into a bit of a meh. So the recent one that's just come up, I must admit, it's quite funny. So Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It's no longer Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It is now Snow White and the Seven Magical Creatures. Yes, you heard me. The live action is going to be Snow White and the Seven Magical Creatures. Now, there's a couple of problems with this film straight away. So the actress they've cast, a lovely actress. I forgot her name off the top of my head. But obviously Snow White, the name is Snow White. She's supposed to be as white as the snow, right? Obviously they've cast an Hispanic actor. Well, actress. But that's not the worst part of it. So the Seven Dwarfs themselves have actually been sacked. Well, 6 of the dwarfs have been sacked and recast. So they've literally changed the dwarfs because they're saying it's discrimination against the dwarfs. Now, I have known a couple of dwarfs over my time, and some of them don't mind being called a dwarf, and some of them do mind being called a dwarf. But again, with the story of Snow White, I think every dwarf has come to accept that Snow White is with the 7 dwarfs. And it don't actually put the dwarfs as bad characters. It makes it, they're magical creatures in that, magical beings. So it shares a good light, if anything. But yeah, the worst thing about this is not just Disney's move. This was in fact down to the Game of Thrones actor, the dwarf himself. He actually was the one that pointed out that the way the dwarfs were being treated on set wasn't right, and the way that the stories was for them seemed a bit outdated, and that maybe you shouldn't call them dwarfs. Now, the other 6 actors in the story got fired, but the Game of Thrones star is one of the 7 dwarfs pictured. So there is still a dwarf in the film, but it's just him. So not only does that guy get every role, quite a lot of roles in a film, more than any dwarf actor would get, but he's now taken the role away from 6 other dwarfs for the sake of it being the dwarfs being called dwarfs. So I don't know whether I'm making myself clear here or not. I know I'm babbling on a bit. I'm not really getting my words out. But again, this is straight off the hook. So yeah, that has happened. Again, Oompa Loompas right now. Rather than using dwarf Oompa Loompas, they've actually used Hugh Grant. Yes, they've actually shrunk him down with CGI for the whole film and used Hugh Grant. So you can argue that maybe they just wanted the actor for this. But at the same time, wouldn't it have been more cost effective to just use a dwarf for the part? I can't imagine they get much parts, and for the sake of diversity, I think you're kind of not helping with the fact. I think you're adding to the fact. You just literally cost 6 people their jobs. So, and then the fact that Game of Thrones star's still in the film is an absolute joke, by the way. One of the other things I should say about that, so the pictures got released. There was some pictures released in the paper about this production, should we say, and not only was it the dwarfs they were showing, but it was the production, the outfits. So the outfits themselves actually looked like something from a childhood pantomime or something like that. The outfits were terrible. The costumes themselves were terrible. It looked really low budget, I must admit. So yeah, that is not a film that's gone down well. I've seen it in the papers everywhere. And like I say, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the Oompa Loompa is now Hugh Grant. Has woke gone too far this time? Some things should just never change. Some of these stories were as they were. They should just never change. You reckon some of our childhoods right now with all this. So yeah, I think the wokeness has gone a bit stupid. It has actually lost 900 million for Disney in the last year or two of films. I mean, even the Lightyear film, even that was one of the biggest losses. I think it was 106 million they lost on the Lightyear film. And I think one of the big pushes about that film was there was in fact a lesbian character in that film. And they actually made a big thing with printing that in all the papers saying about, oh, first lesbian character in the film. Same as Elementals even. So Elementals is Pixar, but again, it's on the Disney brand. This film got undercut straight away from Disney because like all Pixar films, they used to go straight to cinema. Now Disney Plus kind of hogs them to themselves. Elementals never went to cinema, which is why most people never heard of this film, and it actually went straight into Disney Plus. Elementals has got the first non-binary character in a production. So again, a childhood film, again with non-binary characters, with all sorts going on right now. Have Disney gone a bit too far with the wokeism? I mean, even CNN, I don't know whether you've seen the Bud Light adverts recently. I mean, I can imagine half of you are American. Most of you have seen them adverts recently. There was a transgender model used for the advert. And then Bud Light did actually lose, like, their stocks just plummeted overnight. It's been everywhere, if you don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know the exact price, but I mean, that went crazy down. No one's buying Bud Light anymore. It went that bad. So I am going to go and get ready for the poster. I hope you can see me clearly. I have got my new setup now. I've got a nice new setup. I've got a nice new Razer PC. Obviously, my mic's new, my webcam's new, my PC's new. I've got Razer keyboard, Razer mouse, Razer everything right now. So I should actually be able to do more of these. I know this has not been the most clearest video in the world, but I did just want to go over some of the news things we've been seeing. Have Disney made a mistake with some of the things they've been doing recently? Obviously, judging by the prices, judging by the market, 900 million down, I think there's a mistake being made somewhere. So anyway, I just wanted to share some of that. I just wanted to share about some of the drops this week. It's been absolutely crazy. Veve, pull your finger out, get that fixed, because San Diego Comic-Con, you do not want videos coming out of live drops where no one can get the drop, or the drop button don't buy up, or loads of people got the drop but then didn't get the drop, or so on. It's just crazy right now. Crazy. Competition's heating up. I must admit, McFarlane's got a great Batman car coming. They also look like they've got some sort of Todd coming out. But yeah, McFarlane have got a great Batman car coming out. It is a web app only, so you've got no AR function. You can actually sell on other sites, so that is a good thing. It's inoperable. But for me, I'll wait for the Veve one so I can drive it about. Sorry, but I'll wait for the Veve one. I have actually got a good McFarlane story to share with you. I still haven't received my toys yet, but when I get my toys and we get down to that, I'll share that whole story with you. It's actually pretty good story. Has the superstars in it, has me in it, has McFarlane. It has actually McFarlane customer services, which are absolutely great. I must say, I couldn't get better customer services. And it actually is a story of Bob being very stupid at the time and actually lost my McFarlane dragon. So it's a very good story. But when I get my toys and I unbox my toys, I'll let you know about that. But yeah, McFarlane are doing great things right now. Crptotoys are doing great things right now. For me, again, it's too early for me. I prefer a market. I prefer that. I mean, the market for me in Veve is like a utility. It's like a system. It's like a game for me. So I play that. I flip in app to make more gems to then buy more stuff in the app. So far, I've never took any money out of Veve. Probably being a bit stupid as I'm always broke. But yeah, I could do with some of that money sometimes. But again, I like the utility. I like the gamification of just being able to flip the stuff. I mean, so with Crptotoys, they don't have the market. I'm waiting for a market. If they get a market, I will actually buy one of them. I might actually buy one of them in a couple of days for one reason, and that's to support the superstars. They've always helped me out. They've always supported me. But yeah, superstars have always helped me out, so I might actually just buy one based on that and actually just leave it in a wallet. It's like the DC Comics right now. I haven't gone for a DC comic for months, I would say now. And it wasn't like I weren't doing well on the comic drops and we're getting good rarities. I actually got legendary within the first 2 months. But every item, just if I've ever listed anything, it don't sell. And then at the same time, it's not like you can click on the comic and then see the market price of it. You have to then click on the comic, write it down, then go to the market, find that comic, which is a right pain in the arse in itself, then try and base your listing off of that. And then there's so many of the listings that are not actually listings that you can hit in the buy now still there, but it's already sold or something. And that is a nightmare. And then to find the actual real floor one by one is a nightmare. To find the actual mint numbers themselves, again, is a nightmare. I have actually got a legendary like 41 or something in there, maybe even lower than that. Can't sell it for $100 because literally no one knows it's that low mint. So it's crazy. I've not sold one thing in there, I don't think. I've got a portfolio of about 30, 40 comics in there. And to me right now, they're just sitting there dead. They're just sat there dead. I mean, even the veve comics right now are really bad. They're not really selling. I always collected comics first, and I have noticed a lot more that the collectibles seem to be selling in the last couple of months more than the comics. And I thought I'd never say that as a comic collector in veve. I have actually started to buy more collectibles to make shorts with and stuff like that. So I do actually own about 50 collectibles now, where I only ever owned about 5 at one time, because every time I need gems and I have run out of money, I do actually first thing to go is collectibles, not comics. But now, even if you try and list comics, especially secret rare comics, the 50 gem ones, you just can't sell them. No one just seems to be buying them right now. So the comics seem to be less interesting right now, especially less interesting as a play than the collectibles. And DC Comics, for instance, I mean, I just feel like I'm putting money into a pit I'm never going to get back at this point with the comics. It's not nothing against DC. They've done great things. They did do that nice new set where you had to get the certain rarities and stuff like that to get the other one. And they have done a lot of great things over there. But again, my personal preference, I just can't be arsed with having another portfolio of just dead money at this point. So yeah, I think my thing's going to be veve, and it's going to stay to veve. My vision hasn't changed. It's a 5-year plan. We're about 2 years in now. So we've still got a little while to go. And right now the market's picking up. The prices have started to go up. So this week I do expect some of these drop prices to do a bit better than I first initially thought in the first video. So I'm not sure you should take all that video price into account now, because I did actually say in that video Iron Man's probably going to hit 120 to 150. I did actually say it would go over the Golden Moments one, and I do believe that. I think that one's only sat at 150 itself currently. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. It's around there somewhere. Could have gone up, could have gone down, but it's around there somewhere. But yeah, I definitely think now that's probably going to go for higher than 150, I would say. Maybe 200 gems. I don't think that's going to grail, but I do think that's going to be 200 gems. I do think it's going to be a good value drop. So keep your gems back for that. As always, I've been your host, Bob Sales. This time next year, we will be millionaires at peace.
This week we discovered that Disney has abolished its 7 dwarves in a live-action remake of Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. The dwarves have been replaced by 7 magical creatures of varying shapes, sizes, ethnicities and genders. Actually, what that means is one dwarf actor is still in that film, about 7 dwarves, and the rest are average height people. Disney also abolished its famous princes and princesses because they're gender stereotypes. Really? Can't we just have princes and princesses anymore?
Bullshit!
Bullshit?
Oh no, this is real shit.